Hello everyone, Matt Hoots here with SawHorse. Welcome to Home Talk. And in today's episode, we are going to make a shaker style door. I've got a cabinet right here and I'm missing one of the doors on it because this is where a microwave went and I'm going to use this in my office. So I'm going to show you how to make a shaker style door using some 1/2" MDF and some lattice strips that I've pre-cut. I'm going to show you how to use just simple products that I got from a local supply store to make this. Now, 1/2" MDF, and then I've got 1/4" lattice strips. Now these were the pre-primed ones, but it really doesn't matter. Now for the lattice strips, these are usually pretty rough. One side is rough and one side is smooth. And so in order to do less prep work, I'm going to make sure the smooth side is up. I'm simply going to create this 1/4" profile by gluing these onto the 1/2" MDF. So I've got some tight bond wood glue, going to glue it again to the rough side of the lattice strip. Now you're going to use 4 of these, 2 on the top and then 2 on the sides. And I chose to make the length on the top and the bottom just because it's going to be a little bit easier to do the prep. Now the first step is to glue them all in place. So I'm going to glue the top, then the sides, and again, remember to use the smooth side outwards because this has some saw marks on it. And I don't want to have to do a lot of prep work because again, this is designed to be a very simple project. Now a typical cabinet door is 3/4 inches thick. So because we have the 1/2" MDF and the 1/4" lattice, this is going to be the same thickness as the original doors on the cabinet. So once this is prepped and primed and ready to go, it's going to look exactly like the other doors, at least in the thickness. Add one more. Now usually when you're making a cabinet door like this, you need a router, a table saw, and quite a few other materials. And this is designed to be very simple so you can create that shaker style profile without having to use a router. So we're going to let these set up a little bit, let them dry for a few minutes, and then we're going to use a little bit of wood putty on the joints so we can sand it out. Now this is going to be painted, so I'm not really too worried about using wood putty and whatnot. Now if you're doing a stain grade door, you probably would want to buy a door from a cabinet maker because you're not going to be able to use this technique for anything that's stain grade. However, for paint grade, this works out perfectly. All right, so you can see that these are in place. Let these dry for about 30 minutes. Then I'm going to come back and start putting the wood putty on and also caulking some of these details. All right, the glue is completely dry and I've tested several sections to make sure it's not going to come up. Now before we paint it and prime it, I've got to do a little bit of prep work. I've got some wood putty, and because I'm trying to match the same size types of doors that we had on the original cabinet, which again, that was cut out by a CNC machine, so there are no joints shown whatsoever. So in this case, on a normal door, it's okay to leave the joints unputtied and uncaulked. But on this one, since I'm trying to match the original, I'm going to putty all of the seams, sand them out, so when I prime it, it looks perfectly smooth. So I'm going to head and put like a small bead of caulk in there. Then I've got a special tool to create a nice clean square edge. It kind of came out uneven. So I'm going to use this tool right here and use the square edge portion of it to clean it out. That way it's a nice square edge without having to sand it out or peel it out later. Now some people prefer to use their fingers, but I prefer this tool right here because when you use your finger, you create more of a beaded edge, and I'm trying to create a square edge in this case. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit the edges. The reason I'm hitting these edges is because I want to blend in that seam between the 1/4" and the 1/2" piece of wood. So when we sand it and prime it, it'll look like it's one piece and it's cut out of the router just like it came off the factory floor. So I'm going to hit all 4 sides like this, and once I've hit all 4 sides, we'll sand it. And once we sand it, I'll show you where I cut the holes on the back for the hardware. Now that the putty and the caulk is dry, I'm going to sand all of the surfaces, sand the corners, and also sand the sides. Then I'm going to show you what the hardware is going to look like on the back side of this. So we just want to make sure that everything is smooth to the touch. That way when we prime this, it looks just like the other doors that are on the cabinet. And remember, I hit all the sides with the putty, and also on the inside I use the caulk, and that's all going to sand to be nice and smooth so it looks like one piece of wood. Now I want to show you the hardware, the holes on the back where I pre-drilled for this while we're waiting for this to dry. Drilled 2 holes per the manufacturer's specs. They came with a template, so I just marked it and drilled the holes where we've got the template. Now when we prime, I'm going to prime the back side and prime the front side. But first I just need to finish sanding, make everything really smooth. We'll go ahead and prime this afterwards, and then we'll stick the hardware on and assemble the cabinet. All right, I've got everything sanded pretty well and all the dust off of it. Yeah, make sure you get all the dust off of this, because otherwise when you paint it, it's going to leave little marks in the paint and it's not going to look very good. And in this case, I'm using a roller. Ideally, if you were doing cabinets, you would probably try to use a sprayer. But in this case, just trying to demonstrate that you can do this with simple tools. I'm not using a roller with a nap on it because I don't want to leave an orange peel effect. I'm using a foam roller, that way it goes on smoothly, and that way I don't have to worry about sanding it too much in between coats, and it's going to closely match the other cabinets. And again, I did mention I am going to sand in between coats, and the reason is you want this to look as smooth as possible, like it is a spray finish, without it being a spray finish. And I'm probably going to put at least 2 coats of primer, because this MDF is going to suck up the paint a little bit, and that way the top coat can go on really smoothly. So just make sure you get all the spots. And even though this lattice was pre-primed, I'm going to prime that as well. That way I can prime over all of the prep work that I just did to make sure it's smooth. Now usually when you prime, what this does is it not only gives you a homogeneous effect all the way across where it's all the same color, if there's any imperfections, they're going to pop at this point. So when you see, it's just like when you're doing drywall touch-up. You prime the walls first, and then you can see whatever touch-up you need to do after you prime the walls. Same thing with this cabinet, door that we're making. It's looking pretty good so far. We'll go ahead and roll out the middle a little bit more because I see some marks in the paint. And then we'll get our brush and touch up the corners. All right, I let this sit overnight so the paint could fully cure, and it looks pretty good. It's pretty close. If you look to the ones back here, can't even tell from a distance, especially that we just put this together with simple products that you can get from any hardware store. So next what we're going to do is do the final assembly. I'm going to put the hardware on using some hand tools and a few power tools, and then put this back on the cabinet. Now remember, before I pre-drilled these 2 holes for the hardware, and also pre-drilled, I created little pilot holes for the screws. So these are simply going to sit in here. I'm going to put both of these into the sockets here. And then all we have to do is use these Phillips head screws. Now on this drill, I set it to 1, and basically where it's drive mode versus drill mode, because you don't want to over torque these and strip out where these go in. And also I'll lower the torque on here as well to around 8. Put these in. All right, again, you don't want to over torque it because it'll strip it out. MDF is pretty soft.
All right, now that we have the hardware set up, let's go ahead and attach this back to the main cabinet and check it out. In this particular case, these mounting brackets actually snap off of the hinges. So I'm going to put these on first just because it's a little bit awkward to try to put the whole door on at the same time. And I've got options to either screw this on the right or the left. And since I want this to open the other way, I'm going to put it on this side.
Thanks again for watching this video, and I definitely enjoyed making this, and I love the simplicity of this project because we simply recreated a door to match these other doors up here, and we've got this in our rec room in our basement. Excellent for storage. You can put games in here. There's lots of many different things you can do this. And again, the simplicity of this project was we designed it so you, the DIYer, can take products that you can get at any local hardware store and easily assemble a door, a shaker style door, for you and your family. Hope you enjoyed this and see you next time.